If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life aching, or cool one pain, or help while a floating robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. I shall not live in vain. I shall not live or help while a floating robin unto his nest again. I shall not live in vain. I shall not live in vain. I shall not live. He shall speak peace. He shall speak peace unto the heathen. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice with me. Rejoice with me. O daughter of Zion, shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy King cometh unto thee. Rejoice, rejoice, and shout, 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 rejoice greatly. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. million stars light up the sky like diamonds that shine in your eyes. You are the miracle that I've been dreaming of. So this is love. So this is all right. Thank you guys. So I have some thank yous before we move on to the lecture portion. So first, I would like to thank my voice instructor, Professor Peters. Yes. I have grown so much as a vocalist throughout these past 4 years from your incredible instruction. And just thank you so much for helping me to find and embrace my own voice. I've learned so many techniques that I have already taken with me into my performances and into my own teaching as well. And I'm just so grateful for all of your help. I know we were almost tearing up earlier. I'm like, a lot of you don't know, but Professor Peters has also been my honors advisor for my senior creative project, which is this recital and then the lecture soon to follow. So I want to thank you for your instruction and your feedback throughout this process as well. Earning my degree with departmental honors has been such an amazing experience. I've been able to complete so many additional trainings and projects through the Honors College that I wouldn't have in a traditional degree. And it's really helped me to become a successful studio teacher. So thank you so much, Professor Peters. And I also want to thank Dr. Lim. She wasn't able to be here today, but I've been taking piano lessons with her for the past 4 years as well. And I'm so grateful for her instruction. I've been able to improve my piano playing so much because of her. She's just absolutely incredible. And she also helped me with a contract, an honors contract in piano pedagogy as well. And that's been invaluable to me as a teacher. Her recommendation also led me to my current studio, Michigan Music Academy, where I already have 18 students. And I'm just excited to continue building my studio after graduation, and I'm so grateful to her for all of her help. I want to thank my high school voice instructor, Dr. Downs, as well. She really helped with all the foundational skills for voice that have served me as a performer and a teacher, and she instilled this passion for singing in me, so I want to thank her as well. And then I also want to thank my music theory and oral skills instructor, Dr. Saker. She has been such an incredible role model for me as a female instructor, and my passion for music theory grew because of her, and I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you. And she inspired me to be a music theory tutor last year, and I use her skills in my teaching all the time. And I also earned several scholarships with her recommendations. So I want to just say thank you so much for everything. And then I also want to thank the entire voice faculty here at EMU for their feedback and instruction over the past 4 years. Dr. Peebler, his performance pedagogy class was one of the most useful courses in my degree to become a studio teacher. And then Dr. Nam's vocal pedagogy courses and her diction courses are incredible. You guys all know. So grateful to them for all their help. And then I want to thank my family. You guys are so incredible. wonderful, and I love you all so much. And they were here setting up like an hour early all of my stuff, so I didn't have to worry about it. And I want to thank my mom for always being there for me, and it means the world to me to have your support and for helping me achieve my goals and my dreams. You know, sorry, I'm making you cry. And then I want to thank my brother Alex for always making me laugh no matter what. I couldn't look at you the whole recital because I knew I'd start laughing. But every bad day, he's always coming to me with a joke, and it's fantastic. And then thank my friends for being here as well. You guys are the best. You always have my back. And for those viewing online as well that couldn't be here, I want to thank you for your support. And then for everyone in the audience today, just thank you so much for your support and for being here on this special moment for me. Yeah, and then I have one other thing to mention. There is a QR code sheet in the back of the auditorium on the last page, and on the last page of your program notes, if you picked those up, or in the QR code with the program notes, there is a link for donations to Safe House. Safe House is a local organization that helps women in our community who are survivors of sexual assault, abuse, and domestic violence. They're a really incredible organization, and they provide crisis counseling, support groups, and a women's shelter for our community. So please consider donating any amount that you feel called to do so through the QR code or the link provided in the program and translations. And please include the name Bella Fiaba Recital in the description when you do that, if you choose to do so. So thank you so much. Now, we're in about 5 minutes, we're going to move on to the lecture portion. You'll see that there are pencils and a lecture interactive program so that you can follow along with the lecture. So feel free to grab that as well. There's also a QR code if you'd rather do that on your phone. And then we will have a reception after that, just down the hall. So stick around for some desserts after that as well. And I think that's everything. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm giving this lecture. It's called Youth Vocal Pedagogy, an overview of teaching voice to children. So I will announce each chapter of the lecture so that you guys can follow along easily in the program. If you have questions, let me know if it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'll just get started here. So in the summer of 2023, I attended Shenandoah Conservatory's CCM Vocal Pedagogy Institute in Virginia to learn more about how to teach singing successfully on an individual level. I am so grateful to have had this amazing experience, which would not have been possible without the travel grant that was provided by the Eastern Michigan University Honors College. I have learned countless pedagogical techniques and skills that I will take with me into my teaching, and I received 3 graduate credits. During my time there, I had the opportunity to speak with several voice teachers who already had their master's and doctorate degrees and who had established thriving studios. Many of these important conversations happened at meals, or in the gym, or in the hotel pool, in between classes. I was one of the only undergraduate students there, and I asked them for their advice. The main message that kept coming up was how unprepared voice teachers feel to instruct children. Although most voice teachers are expected to teach children, at least while starting out and building their studios, how to approach voice lessons for children is hardly ever covered in music performance degree programs. This dilemma inspired me to dig deeper into the world of youth vocal pedagogy to become a successful voice instructor. One of the students there recommended that I take the Happy Singing Teacher course, working with singers ages 6 to 10 in the voice studio by Full Voice Music, to learn more about teaching children, which I completed this past summer. In addition to this course, other important sources included in this lecture are the courses Teaching Young Voices by Evolving Voice, the books Teaching the Child Singer, Pediatric Pedagogy for ages 5 to 13 by Donna Lentini, Teaching Singing to Children and Young Adults, 2nd edition by Jennifer Williams, The Child's Voice, Its Treatment with Regard to After Development by Emil Benke and Lennox Brown, The Functional Unity of the Singing Voice, 2nd edition expanded by Barbara M. Dosher and John Nix, The Structure of Singing System and Art in the Vocal Technique by Richard Miller, and the academic article from the Journal of Singing, The Child's Voice, A Closer Look at Pedagogy and Science by Kevin Skelton.
So I really highly recommend these courses, these resources, if you want to learn further information after this lecture. Dr. Jennifer Williams also now has a 3rd edition of her book out, teaching singing to children and young adults. The 2nd edition was incredible. Highly recommend getting the 3rd. It's been expanded. So now we're going to enter the chapter, The Origin of the Human Voice. So what is the voice? To explore the expansive topic of youth vocal pedagogy, first one must start at the very beginning. Every person is familiar with speaking and singing, but which came first? In Dr. Jennifer Williams' book, Singing to Children and Young Adults, she states, quote, Darwin suggested that singing evolved before speaking as the main means of human communication. This is a compelling idea, and there is now more recent evidence to support it. This theory suggests that early communication was most effective using sung sound, while emotive vocal gestures such as wailing, calling, laughing, shrieking, sobbing are much closer to singing than to speech. Because of these emotional roots, singing has the power to move us, end quote. Using sound to connect with others for our survival is not a unique phenomenon to only the human species. A multitude of mammals use phonation to signal attraction, anger, or alarm. What is unique among humans is that they have the capability to create a larger array of sounds than other species because of the position of the larynx and the vocal tract. The human singing voice is an important part of expressing ourselves and our backgrounds throughout development, and this idea of helping singers to express themselves is, in my opinion, what being a teacher of singing is all about. So I'm going to be focusing specifically on the child's voice, as this is when the love of singing really begins. So now we're going to talk about the building blocks of vocal pedagogy. Before diving into the differences between teaching adult and child voices, there are a few pedagogical terms and concepts to be aware of, as they will be used frequently throughout this discussion. Dr. Williams explains that the, quote, chest register, speaking quality, is made by vibrating the whole vocal fold. As there is a greater area of contact, the possibility of strain is reduced, as long as the pitch is at the lower end of the range. Remember that our habitual speaking pitch is normally about 3 or 4 semitones higher than our lowest comfortable singing note, end quote. Now, although this is the case, in a discussion with Professor Peters, he brought up the important point that this is a recent phenomenon, as children and women used to speak higher. And so he recommends, after taking an initial assessment, addressing how to pitch the speaking voice 7 to 10 semitones above a student's lowest note, as speaking too low can actually cause vocal fatigue. Next, Dr. Williams clarifies that the, quote, head register falsetto is made by vibrating the outer layer of the vocal fold. The vocal fold is thinner and longer, as this register is normally used at a higher pitch. The tension within the vocal fold is provided primarily by the vocal ligament, rather than by the muscle of the vocal fold body, end quote. Now, understanding the word falsetto is complicated within a voice teaching, because it has taken on different meanings. Here, Dr. Williams uses both terms synonymously. However, many voice teachers now make a distinction between these two types of vocal production. The voice pedagogue Richard Miller explains, quote, it should be pointed out that vocal fold occlusion is not the same in head and falsetto. Vocal fold approximation is less complete in the falsetto production. Further, nodules can result from continued lack of good vocal closure, end quote. Only the head register and the chest register will be used when working with children, so that's important to know. Understanding the definitions of these two registers is essential to being a successful voice teacher, because distinguishing these two types is necessary to have a seamless transition from one to the other, which is a large goal in voice lessons. Another important thing to know is that the vocal ligament that we mentioned earlier is not fully developed in young children. I will sometimes refer to girls' voices or female voices and boys' voices or male voices. So for this lecture, please note that I am referring to the biological sex assigned at birth to those singers, which impacts the physiological makeup of the voice post-adolescence. Before adolescence, girls' and boys' voices are almost physiologically the same. And any change in voice quality between the sexes is purely from societal norms and pressures. I found that very interesting. So whether pubertal children identify as male, female, or androgynous, there's no impact on the physiological vocal makeup. But these students' gender identities will impact things like lyrics and repertoire, that kind of thing. So when teaching a singer of any age or level, it is crucial to begin with aligning the body. Our posture impacts the efficiency of our breathing. To gain this ideal posture for singing, the singer must position the weight of the body in such a way as to arrange one section over another. So you can see I'm sitting here, but my shoulders are over my hips and over my knees. If I was standing, that just keeps going down further. So I want you to try to breathe in this kind of posture, which we use all the time. We're sitting in a desk, we're typing, and just see how much you can breathe in. And I want you just to try and align your body and see now what inhalation feels like. You should feel a 360-degree expansion is what Dr. Nam would call it. You guys know. So yeah, that is why it is so important. So then we're going to talk about where does phonation occur in our bodies. Dr. Williams explains that this process in detail as follows. Quote, voicing happens in the larynx. You can feel this in the front of your neck as a lump about a third of the way down, the size of a small egg, which vibrates when you speak. The larynx is a very mobile container made of several cartilages. These are a bit softer than bone. Within these are the vocal folds, two tiny strips of membrane about 13 millimeters long in children, 17 millimeters in women, and 24 millimeters in men. As the air comes up from the lungs through the larynx, these vocal folds collide and wobble. End quote. So you can see that the vocal mechanism is extremely complex, so it makes sense that learning how to sing is challenging. Another important thing to realize when teaching voice is that the larynx and vocal tract do not only serve the purpose of phonation. The main purpose of the epiglottis is actually to prevent food from going down into the lungs. So then what creates the change of pitch within the human voice? Dr. Williams explains, quote, the frequency of vocal fold collision determines the pitch of the sound. Middle C has a frequency of about 260 hertz. A violin string playing the same pitch will be vibrating the same number of times per second. The pitch frequency of this sound can be raised by elongating the vocal folds or by decreasing the subglottic pressure. The muscles responsible for lengthening are principally the cricothyroid muscles. The muscles responsible for shortening, lowering the pitch, are the thyroarytenoid muscles. Loudness is related to the degree of impact determined by the contact area of the vocal folds and the speed of closure, end quote. So this information is extremely simplified. There's a lot more going on in an anatomical level, but this gives a general idea of what's going on. So then something else to keep in mind when giving students instructions is that when what they feel inside their vocal tract and their mouth is not completely accurate, in the foremost part of the mouth there are actually more nerve endings for eating than in the throat. So this lack of sensory input means that teachers will need to find another way to reach students to change habits that generate an undesirable sound. Without direct control over what many muscles are doing, using feelings as an outlet may be the easiest way to go about manipulating the voice. So we're going to move on to the chapter about addressing the controversy of child voice lessons. So most voice teachers are familiar with the controversy of instructing children to sing. Many vocal instructors share the perspective that singing lessons should not begin until middle school or maybe high school. But surprisingly, this controversy has been taking place since the 1800s. The first lengthy treatise about child vocal pedagogy was The Child's Voice, Its Treatment with Regard to After Development by Emil Benke and Lennox Brown. This book contains information from 810 people, as well as the author's opinions and understandings. Unbelievably, the most expansive knowledge of child vocal pedagogy is still this book, compiled in 1880. So Kevin Skelton, the author of the article, The Child's Voice, A Closer Look at Pedagogy in Science, argues that, quote, considering the magnitude of the child's voice and the profound influence it had on subsequent work in the field up to the middle of the 20th century, it is surprising that since then no one has undertaken a project of similar scope. A contemporary version of the child's voice, drawing on the responses of today's voice pedagogues and choral conductors, would be a fascinating way to see how the attitudes and approaches to teaching young singers have or have not changed since 1885. Similarly, to hold these responses up to our current understanding of child vocal physiology could result in a significant step toward working with children singers more seriously and responsibly, end quote. I mean, if we think about how much the world has progressed since 1880 in terms of voice science and equipment, I just found it really shocking that we're still relying on such an outdated survey on this topic. The following statement was included in the survey, The Child's Voice, Its Treatment with Regard to After Development. Quote, of literature with regard to the child's voice, there is as yet scarcely any, and we trust therefore that the present work may be useful to all who are interested in this most important subject, end quote. So we could basically say the same thing now in 2025, really great. Just say. There is a great demand for knowledge about teaching children how to sing, especially accounting for all the child vocalists in our world today. The perpetuated idea that singing is harmful to children's voices is inaccurate for several reasons. One reason is that children can harm their voices with or without vocal instruction. However, uneducated voice teachers, or those that don't care about vocal health, can harm children's voices. In a discussion with Professor Peters, he mentioned that there is a question as to the morality of teaching young voices because children are so vulnerable. Professor Peters explains, quote, teachers sometimes want to promote themselves in their studios/businesses by having their child singers do more and more advanced things to prove how effective they are as teachers. If they harm the student, they simply move on to the next one, end quote. In my opinion, this is even more of a reason for voice teachers to be educated in working with children. Another consideration for why voice instructors avoid the issue of teaching children is that there is much confusion on how to go about it. Although there are teachers who simply think that the voice should not be studied until the singer has reached maturity. These are not valid reasons to just dismiss teaching children. Of course, the primary concern regarding teaching children how to sing is to not damage their voices. Dr. Williams states, quote, the limitations for young voices are mainly to do with more extreme vocal gestures. These tend to be ones that are high, loud, fast, or long. In other words, young singers should avoid extended singing on high pitches, or singing too loudly, or passages of fast notes, or singing long phrases, or any combination of the four, end quote. This may be surprising because when we work with adults, fast scale exercises are often encouraged. In fact, Richard Miller explains, quote, alteration of muscle tension and relaxation depends on the presence of flexibility, end quote. In my experience, the issue of working on vocal agility for extended periods of time with children is that they tend to use their throats to articulate, and then that introduces unnecessary tension. So it's a difficult balance to introduce the benefits of vocal flexibility to children while ensuring that the vocal exercises are not too demanding for them. So very short, fast passages in a comfortable range tend to work well. When addressing this controversy, it is important to acknowledge that voice pedagogues do have valid concerns about the vocal health of young students. Dr. Barbara M. Dosher explains in her book, The Functional Unity of the Singing Voice, 2nd edition expanded, quote, the single most important trait of the young voice is its limited endurance. For the high school voice, the medium dynamic level is best. Very soft or very loud singing, except for a limited time, is not advised. The tessitura must be carefully monitored, even for college-age singers, and singing for too long a time is especially dangerous. Always exercise over caution rather than under caution, end quote. So if this is true for high school students, this is even more true for your very young singers. If a voice teacher is not comfortable teaching young voices, and if they don't understand how to approach it, they should avoid teaching this age group. The reputable voice teacher, Donna Lentini, suggests that using advanced technique with children is like asking a 5-year-old ballerina to dance on point. What does this mean for teaching vocal technique? Technique is minimizing the effort required to complete any physical undertaking. The point of learning technique for physically demanding activities is to avoid hurting ourselves. So teaching children how to sing should not harm their voices at all. Instead, it should help them learn how to take care of their voices early on. Children have participated in singing since ancient times. Historically, there are paintings that display this from the 4th century BC in Greece. Emphasizing the text by instructing children to sing was even mentioned by Plato in his writings. In addition, during medieval times, children were taught to sing in church, and today children sing in general music classes, choirs, in their school or their church or their community. So now we're going to talk about why should children learn to sing. Current research has revealed that wellness and healthiness are affected favorably by singing, and the body's immune responses are also impacted favorably by the intensified feelings produced by singing. Further research is needed as to how this relates to individual voice lessons, as these studies were performed in choral settings. However, the results may lead to similar conclusions. When practiced over a duration of time, music education produces developments in children's scholastic accomplishments. Lentini lists many skills that voice lessons can enhance, including speech, confidence, work ethic, memorization, reading music, self-awareness, and the voice itself. People tend to grossly underrate children's singing and musicianship abilities. However, the way vocal instructors approach teaching singing to children will of course be a little different than how they approach it with adults. Teaching self-assuredness, courageousness, and determination are a top priority when working with young students. Although working with children is often thought of as lower-level work, Skelton argues that the development of the child's voice is delicate and calls for a conscientious approach that only top vocal instructors should provide. This opinion may seem counterintuitive because teaching older singers is usually seen as the more advanced work, but this just goes to show the significance of studying how to teach these voices. One of the main differences between how to teach children versus how to instruct adults is the concept of technique. If teachers are to take 1 point from this lecture, it should be Dr. Williams' statement, quote, "Learning technique is actually making it easier." I was like, this blew my mind. He's like, this is the best information. When viewing voice lessons for children with this lens, it makes absolutely no sense not to teach them how to sing more comfortably. And in fact, children who sing have fewer negative health conditions. Another interesting one. It is our job as teachers to assist our students in creating efficient vocal production, which will prevent unnecessary damage to the vocal folds. Now we're going to talk about adult and child vocal quality differences. It is obvious to anyone who has spoken to a child that their vocal quality is different than that of adults. But there are specific distinguishing factors. In children, the most obvious shift in vocal quality is between the chest and head registers, and if they are unfamiliar with singing in their head voice, it may be a troublesome area. SJ's got it back there. She's like, yep. Children's voices transition from chest voice to head voice around C5 or D5, which is above the typical transition point of adult female voices at G4 or A4. Children also have thinner vocal cords, meaning that the change in vocal quality at this transition point is smaller than that of adult voices. Until the period of adolescence, children's voices do not frequently produce inherent vibrato. Dr. Williams explains that this, quote, "this could be due to the maturation of the vocal ligament. This structure within the vocal folds gives some tensile strength to the vibrating folds and reduces the work within the thyroarytenoid muscle. This reduction in muscle contraction could be enough to enable the subtle balance of muscle action that is needed for vibrato to occur," end quote. This is important for teachers to understand, as producing a classical sound often involves having vibrato, which may not be possible for children to achieve naturally like an adult. Dr. Williams makes an important distinction between intrinsic vibrato, which can occur when there is an equilibrium between muscles, and what she describes as a wobble, which is an intentional shaking on the singer's part that children are able to produce. The proportions of the vocal tract and larynx restrict how powerful the voice can sound, so children won't be able to achieve the same impact and dramatic interpretation as an adult either. Now I'm going to give you a brief overview of vocal development from infancy through age 13. The human voice changes throughout the lifespan, which is important to recognize as a voice teacher. Incredibly, babies are quite musical, as they can perceive melodies given with varied pitch centers between 6 to 10 months. Infant voices are also distinct from the voices of young singers or fully mature singers because the purpose of vocalization is not the same. Infants are completely dependent on their caregivers to live, which means that they must be heard and they must grow by eating, and so their voices are designed for these purposes. As the baby becomes a child, communication becomes a vital tool for life. When babies begin making speech-like sounds, they will have distinct characteristics of the specific language that is in use around them. Dr. Williams explains that, quote, infants have smaller lungs, a larynx with different proportions sitting higher in the throat. Young children have a vocal system that is partway between the infant and the adult model. Understanding this concept can help us to see why children's voices are not like mini adult voices, end quote. Now, keeping this information in mind, it makes sense that the vocal tract's length is reduced the closer in age the child is to infancy, making it more compact. It is essential to break down children's voices into age groups. The growth required to go from a voice designed for a baby to a voice designed for communicating through speech happens from ages 1 to 5, although there are still developments that take place from age 5 to around 10 or even 11 years of age. The vocal system shares more similarity to that of a matured singer by the time the student is 10 or 11 years old. However, pubertal growth and vocal adjustments are just around the corner. Now, puberty obviously presents huge vocal changes, especially in boys, but it's way too vast of a topic for this lecture to cover in depth, so I'm not going to get into that too much today. Although the following information should only serve as a general guideline because each voice is different. 3 to 5-year-olds usually possess the pitches C4 to C5, whereas 6 to 9-year-olds can normally sing the pitches B flat 3 to E5, and 10 to 13-year-olds generally have the pitches A flat 3 to G5. Lentini does not recommend that teachers allocate these young voices to a certain voice category, such as alto or soprano. Rather, she suggests simply calling them treble voices. Lentini categorizes students between the ages of 5 and 7 as discover your voice singers, as singers of this age are building autonomy and identifying a lot of information that they have never been exposed to before. This age group can work on distinguishing between their vocal registers. Students can work on musical skills such as basic reading of notation, producing an even rhythm, determining the direction of notes, and being able to sing the same note that the teacher sings. But these young students will begin with music taught by rote. Students of this age may gain from working with both their instructor and their parents, a teaching method named the Suzuki Triangle. The students' parents will play a crucial role in at-home practice, as well as being part of the lessons and creating a written record of what was covered during the lessons at this early age. Lentini classifies singers that are between 8 to 10 years old as learn your voice singers and mentions that this age group may be familiar with voice lessons at this point, or they may be just beginning their voice journey, making it more important for voice teachers to determine where they are at. These elementary school age singers should sing throughout their entire vocal range, continue to work on musical literacy skills, indicate inhalation within the score, and try an assortment of different types of repertoires that include acting. Breath work and alignment can be taught productively to singers between 7 and 12 years of age. Now, in terms of breath management, it is crucial for teachers to understand that young children must take more breath. This is made evident by the following statement by Dr. Williams, quote, "The adult maximum phonation time is between 15 and 30 seconds. An adult who is trained to manage their airflow can be 40 or even 50 seconds. For a child, it is their age plus 1 second," end quote. So big difference there. Knowing this is going to obviously impact the teacher's choice of repertoire, and it also provides a realistic expectation for students. So you're going to have to break up phrases. Lentini labels students from 11 to 13 years of age as growing singers, as they now take more control over their learning and usually attend lessons by themselves. In the younger years, parents play a direct role in students' education, but at this point in their development, students want separation from their parents to develop their identity, make progress based on their own merit, and so at this age, it's better not to include them. Now we're going to talk about vocal health for young voices. So how are we going to encourage vocal health awareness with our young students? Lentini suggests that students enrolled in voice lessons, as well as their parents, should be taught how to take care of their voices regardless of age. It is important to remember that vocal health not only refers to the singing voice, but to the speaking voice as well. That's why I have this. Most people have experienced vocal fatigue at some point. It could be after you screamed at a concert too loud, yelling at a football game, talking with a friend for too many hours, or an illness, something like that. But particularly with younger children, parents play a crucial role in enforcing vocal health habits. Teachers should have discussions and provide handouts to parents so that they have a good understanding of vocal health and why it is important. So how do teachers determine what is causing fatigue? Dr. Williams explains, quote, "Stress on the voice is measured as vocal loading. This is a measurement of the amount of impact the vocal fold tissues have to endure. Rapid or prolonged collision affects the structure of the cells within the vocal folds," end quote. So how often people use their voices, the volume level of their vocal production, and how much stress they are feeling all impacts this concept of vocal loading. What is interesting is that this impact on the vocal folds decreases when phonation is broken down into shorter durations, according to current studies, and teachers must bear this in mind when doing lesson pacing. There are many foundational musical activities that do not require any phonation that can be interspersed throughout the lesson to better split up the time. It can be vocally dangerous for children to attempt replicating an adult's vocal production, especially since adult vocalists tend to sing greater lengths with a more powerful sound. Surprisingly, voice disorder criteria such as dysphonia and vocal nodules could be met by as many as 20% of children. However, in many of these instances, they become better with age and do not seek professional therapy. So then what is causing all these voice disorders? Dr. Williams explains that, quote, "Personality type would appear to be the single most influential factor on the occurrence of voice disorders in children. Several studies have suggested that the occurrence of nodules is more prevalent in children with anxiety symptoms," end quote. It is well known that excessive stress can negatively impact all areas of health, and vocal health is not an exception. Obviously, there is not much that can be done in 30 minutes or an hour with your student. Teachers cannot change the student's living situation, their troubles at school, their family, their crazy schedule, but they can make their studios a safe space for students. So creating an encouraging learning environment can help alleviate stress and pressure. Getting enough sleep is extremely important for children's development. Even in the 1800s, they recognized that sleep was crucial for good singing, as made evident by the following passage, quote, "It is very essential that all children, and especially when engaged in singing, should have sufficient sleep," end quote. So talking to parents about children and about setting up a sleep routine for their child can be very helpful. Professor Peters also mentioned the importance of students' diets when it comes to vocal health, especially for those who have acid reflux. Warming up is another important habit to encourage and initiate. Now, this only makes sense as preparation to stretching is involved in any sport to avoid physical damage and improve function. The thyroarytenoid muscle literally becomes warmer, laxer, and more flexible when warming up. Warming up is crucial for both the student and the teacher. Gotta stress this. The essential aspects to include in teachers' conversations with students on vocal health are to make sure to drink enough water throughout the day, do not sing when exhausted or sick, when possible. Sleep is very important. Phonation should be preceded by warming up. Use steam when vocally recovering. Limit stress and be attentive to both the singing and the speaking voice. Richard Miller suggests that a voice teacher must be intentional with their speaking voice, just as they are with their singing voice, by speaking on the body and pitching their voice in an appropriate range. So now we're going to talk about children with performance anxiety. In the middle of adolescence, stage anxiety can increase, and Dr. Williams specifically mentions girls who are around 14 years old having a difficult time and advises teachers not to put pressure on these students because there will come a time that they get past this stage. There are a few things that are important to understand from a teacher's perspective when it comes to stage anxiety, regardless of the age group. First, Dr. Williams explains that, quote, breathing out tends to favor the parasympathetic, everyday bodily function nervous system, and breathing in is linked with the sympathetic, fight or flight nervous system, end quote. So this is super essential to keep in mind when you're assigning breath work to your students. If the student's anxiety is related to the teacher hearing them sing, I have found that singing with the student a few times so that they become comfortable can help. Dr. Williams encourages teachers to think about their communication style and start with students' strengths and what they consider straightforward. Confidence is something that takes time to develop. It takes a lot of courage for these students to put themselves out there and try something new. Vocal instruction should be student-centered. Each student begins voice lessons with their own unique strengths, challenges, and backgrounds, and voice teachers should be aware of these differences and keep each student's educational goals in mind. So now we're going to talk about the learning process. How do humans learn? The answer to this question very much impacts how vocal instructors approach teaching, or any instructor approaches teaching. First, the teacher must understand what learning is. Dr. Williams defines it as follows. Quote, motor learning is a set of processes associated with practice or experience leading to relatively permanent changes in the capability for skilled movement. Memory is less like a filing cabinet and more like information processing. Learning itself can be observed and evaluated. Learning itself cannot be observed and evaluated, only the outcomes of learning, end quote. So then you might be thinking, well, how can teachers impact students if you can't see learning? So the answer is by giving feedback during students' trials in whatever new endeavor they are pursuing, which will help support the right way of doing it and eliminate the errors. Giving adverse feedback is not a successful method of instruction. So teachers should try to reframe the language that they use to focus on what students should try moving forward to change the undesirable outcome instead of focusing on what did not turn out. Taking breaks is also very important for effective learning. Dr. Williams explains that, quote, resting with a different activity is more beneficial than passive resting. The science behind this has shown that the neurological systems in the brain recover from fatigue more quickly if they have an inflow of activity from non-fatigued parts of the body, end quote. Most people wish they could achieve perfection on the first try, and teachers may try countless avenues to help their students achieve certain tasks, seemingly to no avail sometimes. Although this may be discouraging, an essential component to learning is messing up. Usually, voice instructors will try to correct a mistake, but students will still reproduce the error, which is why teachers should ask students to sing another pitch other than the desired correct note instead. Now, this technique might seem counterintuitive at first, but it frees students' minds from continuing with what they already know and allows them to choose something new, which is often the desired pitch. Another important aspect of learning and singing is memorization. But how can this skill be taught to children? Each small section of music should be placed in the broader context of how the entire piece is organized, which can be thought of in terms of structure, the structure of the music itself, like a theoretical perspective, or from the lyrical composition, such as keeping track of stanzas, or having an idea of the character's progression. Reciting the same section of music in repetition is a useful memorization technique, and it can be performed without producing sound through the process of audiation, which can help students to avoid vocal fatigue. Lastly, students should break down the music into small passages and alternate which musical segments they memorize first, so that they do not always initiate their work from the onset of a piece or segment. So now we're going to get to designing voice lessons for children, a play-based approach. Technical study and song selection are by no means the only activities involved in planning voice lessons for children. Before beginning to design a curriculum, one important question remains. How long should lessons be for children? Many teachers think that lessons should be very short because young children have short attention spans. But this matter is very individual, and so the preference of lesson timing is the teacher's choice if they can capture students' attention with educational and enjoyable activities. Vocal technique and learning new pieces take up most of the time in conventional lessons, which means that the singer must learn many musical skills on their own. This approach may work for adults, but it leaves young singers confused. In addition to keeping children engaged, as well as cultivating basic musical knowledge, teachers must add many more activities than in adult lessons. For instance, during voice lessons, students should study how to express each song's narrative while performing. Creating many distinct locations in which children can acquire new musical information can help them stay absorbed in each activity. An excellent teaching idea Loni mentions in her Happy Singing Teacher course working with singers ages 6 to 10 in the voice studio is setting up a solfege wall in the studio. I love this idea. It is easy to dismiss certain steps or activities because they are basic. Loni defines this tendency to forget the difficulties of learning a new topic for the first time as the curse of knowledge. And this concept pertains especially when you're working with young children. The rate at which voice teachers progress through their materials is also very important to plan. If the teacher moves too quickly, the students will be frustrated. If they move too slowly, they're going to be bored. So Loni brings up the crucial point that the rate at which students advance does not affect the vocal instructor's teaching skills. Individual private lessons can be tailored to each student's passions and strengths. No matter what the age of the student is, the teacher and student should have specific goals in mind for lessons, whether it be learning a new song, participating in a recital, or singing for a peer. Now, before trying to adjust a mistake, give the student a chance to change it without negative feedback, as they can often fix it after multiple attempts. One thing that instructors often loathe is children that cannot sit still. However, fidgeting can help students to focus and give them an outlet for their surplus of energy. It is important to understand that sometimes children also manage the intake of information from their senses by fidgeting. The growth of young children is usually affiliated with play-based learning. There are so many benefits to using a play-based approach to learning in the voice studio setting. Children's attention spans and levels of engagement improve with play. Children's feelings and attitudes can be communicated during play, and children who are apprehensive or introverted can be positively impacted by a play-based learning approach. So then what does play-based learning look like in the voice studio? It looks like actively including play in every aspect of teaching. Teachers can enable children to become characters by creating theatrical settings using playthings such as stuffed animals as well as furniture or backdrops. Learning about performance in this way is only natural for young children, as it can help diminish their nerves and increase their enjoyment. Another activity involves playing with emotions. Dr. Williams uses a bag of emotions in her teaching. Her students speak and sing whatever emotion she pulls out of the bag. Using tongue twisters to develop articulation and diction is another fun activity for students. In the Happy Singing Teacher course, working with singers ages 6 to 10 in the voice studio, Loni made this activity even more fun by creating a jar of doom in which she pulled out tongue twisters at random. There are many more activities that teachers can include, but these are just a few to get started, get some ideas. So we're going to talk about vocal technique for children. Young children are very capable, and voice instructors can give them the tools they need to evolve their singing skills so that they can enjoy singing with ease throughout the course of their lives. However, demanding vocal exercises and intensive high-level education are not the goals of introducing technical work to children. But instead, Technique for Youth is about learning how to create beautiful and easy phonation through the human body. Teaching singing techniques to children is crucial for vocal development. Even before addressing the tools to improve students' singing skills, the teacher should begin by helping them to grasp the basic idea of how their instrument creates sound. Lentini explains that, quote, all instruments have 3 parts: a generator, a vibrator, and a resonator. For young singers, these 3 parts can be described as having a starting place in the lungs, a sound maker in the throat, and an amplifier in the mouth. These stages of making vocal sound can also be described to children as a set of 3 steps: preparation, launching, and traveling, end quote. So obviously this isn't nuanced or detailed, but it can help them to bring awareness to their bodies as instruments. Breath management is another area that voice teachers can help students become aware of. One issue that comes up when working with youth is that these students tend to exhale rapidly, which is not ideal for vocalizing, as learning how to maintain the position of inhalation longer than usual is a key component to developing vocal technique. Mature and young singers alike may feel as if they are putting a lot of effort into their singing when they try to inhale at max capacity by lifting their shoulders and their upper ribs. But this action is not optimal for vocalization either. Professor Peters taught me that giving yourself a bear hug while breathing and singing can help bring awareness to inhalation that is too high in the chest with elevated shoulders. He also taught me that the act of pretending to smell a flower can help encourage that low inhalation. Teachers can help young students with their breath in an enjoyable way by adding toys and games. A fun activity to help with breath awareness that I came across in my research was to ask students to lay down on the floor and focus on their breath by putting a plushie on their abdomen. So I brought my favorites here. This is Mozart Mouse and the Neural Mouse, his sister. I am not sponsored by Alfred Music, but I love these, so yeah. Anyhow, to work on sustaining breath energy that is steady with good posture, Lentini suggests using a pinwheel for children to make the exercise more engaging. Vocal diction skills can also be taught to children. Voice teachers working with children ages 7 to 11 can go further with the development of these pronunciation skills, especially when utilizing a mirror, as Dr. Williams suggests. Loni recommends using tongue twisters for this purpose. I started using a makeup mirror in my high school voice lessons with Dr. Natalie Downs, and I highly recommend this because it's portable, so you can be practicing anywhere, so recommend this to your students. What about technical exercises that involve phonation? Starting out, the primary goals are to develop stability and stamina within the vocal mechanism while finding and blending the head voice and the chest voice. And Lentini suggests that young singers should start by exploring their upper registers. Encouraging students to explore their entire range as beginners may help them to deal with issues such as inaccuracies in pitch. SOVT exercises, or semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, my favorite, such as lip trills, blowfish, and voice consonants, can be defined as when the air pressure inside the oral cavity increases, which decreases the imbalance in air pressure that is superior and inferior of the larynx to produce greater vocal cord closure without having to work as hard. So that's another tool we can use with young students. Teachers must be aware that tongue tension can be very troublesome, and unfortunately children are not exempt from this vocal struggle. Retracting the tongue can be appealing for vocalists because they can better hear themselves. And it can be a difficult pattern to break because students will think that they are producing less sound, which is why Dr. Williams recommends utilizing recordings. Additionally, voice teachers must understand that they can take on their students' tensions as their own if they are not aware and actively loosening up. However, on the flip side, knowing this information can help them to pinpoint specific issues that their students are dealing with, so being aware of this. Dr. Williams also suggests engaging parts of the body, like the neck and shoulders, and little motions to keep singers from tensing up. So that could be used while singing. One of my favorites is bending the knees when you're ascending in pitch. Another one taught to me by my high school voice teacher, Dr. Downs. It is important to remind parents and students that practicing is crucial to advancing their vocal study. Dr. Williams suggests that children should practice a minimum of 5 days per week because little development can be made if students practice under 3 days. Once again, students should divide their practice time into shorter periods of vocalization to avoid fatigue. And lastly, here we're going to talk about age-appropriate repertoire. Choosing and assigning repertoire is an enormous part of being a voice teacher. Generally, voice teachers are familiar with the repertoire available for college-age voice students, perhaps high school. Children and adults of both sexes usually aspire to sing various genres of music. To explore and expand students' vocal ability and musicianship, teachers must provide a diverse array of repertoire. Students should get a say in what music they sing. However, what if the songs they like are vastly inappropriate? Then what are we going to do? So this is tricky because young students will be very disappointed if the teacher banishes their repertoire of choice because it is unsuitable. Instructors may need to dig a little deeper. The teacher must figure out why each student is passionate about the repertoire that they want to learn. One way to address this concern is to modify the music the child is interested in some way. Now, some students might fight this option because they want to sing it exactly like the artist, but it's a compromise solution that is worth considering. Loney suggests cutting portions of the song, substituting more age-appropriate text, transposing and altering the melody line to make the music more approachable for children. To keep students feeling confident, the following guidelines apply especially for young children. Break down the song into very small sections and slow it down. I want to emphasize very, very small sections. The teacher should decrease the tempo if the child is doing so when first learning the song. Use hand gestures that correlate to the melodic contour if needed for an aid. With young children, the time spent in voice lessons will account for most of the accumulation of knowledge. So how should teachers determine song choices for such a young age group? Lentini recommends examining the difficulty of tessitura, range, text for age appropriateness, length and vocabulary, and melodic contour when assigning songs to young singers. Beyond the initial steps of learning pitches and rhythms, Lentini suggests that students should learn about how to perform in front of people, how to present themselves on the stage, the importance of resonance, acting in movement, and memorizing music. Teachers should aim for songs that advance children's skills and cultivate a love for singing and learning. Loney provides guidelines for picking children's songs that include assessing the difficulty of the keyboard part below the melody line. I hadn't thought of that before. Keeping the duration of the song brief, using a more concise vocal range, and the ability of the song to be taught by rote. So in conclusion, youth vocal pedagogy is a vast topic that includes many subjects. Teaching children voice lessons has long since been a controversial endeavor, but when faced with the facts, there are many positives that children can gain from singing. The voice of a child is not the same as the voice of an adult for physiological and cognitive reasons, and thus there are differences in how teachers should approach voice lessons when working with children. So I've learned so much through my Honors Senior Creative Project that I will take with me into my career and as a vocal instructor. I am so grateful for the opportunities that the Honors College and the School of Music and Dance here at EMU have provided for my education. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this lecture and were able to take away some useful knowledge about youth vocal pedagogy. So thank you so much.